Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newsflash Podcast. Apologies for being late. We had a bit of technical difficulties, but I did try and tell you guys in the live chat. So I hope we didn't lose too many viewers. I hope you guys stuck around for a little bit. Before I bring on our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a very interesting conversation. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this one. I want to remind you, please, to go vote for me. I am a finalist on the Free SA Young Leaders Awards. Link is in the description. Please go cast your vote. Cast it one time. So if you've already voted, thank you so much for voting. But for those of you who haven't, please go do so. Voting closes, I think, at the end of May. So you're going to be hearing me asking you to vote a lot. But please do so. And all the links to what we are talking about today in this episode are in the description. There's a link to Action Society's website in the description, as well as their campaign to basically have your voice heard against the private security regulations that this government is trying to put through. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me many times talk about Action Society. I use a lot of their stats. I use a lot of their stories. I have been on a lot of their court hearings and been there myself in person, documenting things. When they did the mural for Supercazi Boy, I was there documenting that as well. So Action Society and I like to think, close friends. For the I hope that's a correct way of putting it. And also, I should have had these guys on a long time ago, but I'm happy that they could join me in such short notice tonight. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show Juanita du Preez. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes.
Hello, Juanita. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Joe. And I just have to tell your viewers that actually the technical difficulties are on my side, and we also just had an impromptu hailstorm, but it seems like it's over now. Pretoria's seen really weird weather, so it was me.
No, you're too nice. It's all right. We managed to sort it out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do hear any problems or if there's any issues, please do let us know. Juanita, I think maybe we should start with basically you explaining yourself, what your role is at Action Society, and who is Action Society. What is it you do? I think some people might be familiar with your company or business or NGO, sorry, because of Ian Cameron. I mean, Ian Cameron, when he was told, shut up by Minister Begitere, that got a lot of traction. Everybody was talking about Action Society, confusing you with Action SA as well. But let's clear the air, explain what it is you do and what you do.
Okay, well, so Action Society, yes, you are correct. We do get confused with Action SA, but we are not affiliated in any way. We're not a political party. And in fact, we were first. Action Society was the first one. Action SA came later. But we are an NGO, an NPO. And what we do is we have 3 pillars, but we want to make South Africa safer, especially for women and children and vulnerable people. So that's just in a nutshell what we do. But we actually reworked it a little bit this year just to make it stronger. If people ask us who we are. So the 3 things that we really focus on is, and we jokingly internally call them our 3 babies who are in the creche. So we care for all of them. And the one is victims. And I think that's the one that you have been involved with a lot of times, attending court cases. And what we do is we attend, we support the victims or the families of the victims if the victim is not there anymore, through the court process, because it is a daunting process. It is traumatizing, and the South African system is so long. We have 2.5 years, 3 years, 3.5 years court cases going on. And normal people don't understand the process. Why is it taking so long? It shouldn't. But we support them and help them to go and sit there to understand what is going on and tell them why it is important that they do attend and why they should see it through. So that's the one, the victim support, the victim and family support. Then the other one is justice. So that is where we try to change legislation, regulations, everything that is working against the victim. We see a lot of rights for the perpetrators of crime, but we don't see a lot of rights for the victims. It seems a bit skewed. So we work and try to change that. And then the last one is community, and that is very, very nice. It's I want to say it's feel good, but it's not just feel good. Oh, little flowers or something like that. But it really, that's where you can see something like a container. That's one of the projects we did. But we want to, because we believe strong communities make better and safer communities. That's why we try to invest in the communities who already self-start, because then we see they have the will and we just try and make their hands stronger. But all of that is to make all of the three pillars, all of the three babies that we support is aimed at making South Africa safer for children and for women. In general, the whole South Africa, but that's the main focus.
Yeah, you're going to get some people, I'm sure, in the comment section saying, but what about the men, Juanita? Why is it always about the women and the children? Why not the men? I've gotten that a few times, by the way, when I make videos about you guys.
Well, we also care about men. We have had some cases where we took on cases with men where they were the victims. So we are not opposed to that, but we are mandated, and we would like to take on all the cases, but we also have restraints and capacity problems or challenges. So we had to make it a bit more lean so that we can, start small, make a change, and then hopefully it will flow over to men as well. We are not against men. We really like men, but we just don't have the capacity to take on everything that is wrong in South Africa.
Absolutely. And there's a lot wrong with South Africa, which actually is a great segue into what we're going to talk about tonight, which is you'll probably, know it better than I do in terms of the name because it's a mouthful, but I just call it the private security regulations, that the new regulations or amendments or whatever it is that they want to implement. I believe the time or the, what's it called? Public participation cutoff date is, correct me if I'm wrong, the 25th. That's Friday, right? Yeah. So let me first say again, link is in the description to go to Action Society's campaign that they've got going on. Please lend your voice over there, comment, and let the government know why this is a bad idea. But Juanita, I think there's a very important, something that I didn't cover yet about these regulations. And that is, if I had to ask you, first of all, if I had to ask you to name like 3 things in these regulations that really stand out as crazy or delusional or just irrational, maybe even ludicrous, what would those top 3 things be?
Well, I think it maybe it has been mentioned before, but just to in general, it's not to do with GBV directly, but it's just ludicrous to say the the amount of bullets and the amount of firearms that a private security company can use there will be a person using his own idea of how much is enough. There's no, it's too vague. How much is enough? It was something that sprung out immediately because it is so vague. And then the other thing is that that they cannot use water cannons, rubber bullets, tear gas. Even I saw later on, they cannot use that for crowd control. So how do you use a megaphone and say, "Please, guys, stop it"? Is that going to be effective? I don't. In my personal experience, that is not going to be effective. And then the other one, it is a bit tricky, but I think the one where as soon as there is a glimmer of something that you're doing wrong or something like that, they can immediately make you stop your day-to-day work. So what that means for the user, for the normal South African making use of a private security company, is that tonight you go to sleep. You think if somebody breaks in, I'm going to press my panic button and they will be here within 2 minutes because that is what we are used to. But no, that is you're going to be left to the police. So which means you're going to be left on your own because the police won't turn up. So that is some of the shocking things that they can just immediately suspend the private security companies' work. They can just immediately suspend it without people knowing and having an alternative, because the police is not an alternative.
And I think what's also frustrating, like I'll be open and honest, like we have a security company that every month we pay. They, we have panic buttons, we have all the whole works, alarm system, all that stuff. So the thought of like one day, like you just said, like I go to bed, my alarm goes off for whatever reason, someone tried to break in or whatever, and I'm pressing that panic button because they're good. Like I wouldn't say I've tested them, but funny story. So what happened once is the alarm went off at about 11 o'clock at night. And this was like shortly after we moved into this place. So my wife and I were like, actually like, oh, wow, okay, someone's actually trying to break in. Okay, let's get ready, panic button. Well, it didn't have to do the panic button because the alarm went off. But we're like, okay, just wait because they're going to call. And they called. They were like, no, please come because we don't know what's happening. Like we haven't heard anyone break in, but the fence, the electric fence, we think that's what triggered it. So maybe someone was trying to climb over or whatever. Anyway, within 30 seconds or a minute, they were there. Like that's pretty fast response time.
Yeah.
And we're lucky because they actually live close by, or not live, sorry, their headquarters are close by to us, which is one of the reasons why we chose them. But they were there within 60 seconds. They came in, they searched the place. Shame. What had happened was a little gecko sacrificed his life to give us assurance that the electric fence works if anybody tampers with it. But he was quite fried. But that was what had happened. Now, cool, gecko trying to break in, not a problem. But again, like had this has happened and these regulations got in the way and that security company was, for whatever reason, their operations were halted, there we are, 11 o'clock at night, waiting, wondering, and this person, or if someone had tried to break in, they could have gotten in easily, maybe not easily, but like they would have gone in and we would have kept pressing the panic button and nobody would have come, and who knows what would have happened. This is the thing though, in South Africa, even though my story is kind of funny, the reality is this kind of stuff happens all the time in South Africa. Crime rate is very high. Break-ins happen all the time. More and more people are relying on private security firms to fill in the gap of the SAPs. And I think this will bring me on to my next question for you. In terms of these regulations or this adjustment to this private security, how does it betray women? Does it betray children in South Africa? Is this something that is actually going to backfire?
Well, I think like you said, the private security. There's a reason why people have private security. Why almost everybody that I know have panic buttons. I know we are in a privileged situation where we can afford that, and we do have that. and many South Africans don't. But we also South Africans, and we also want to feel safe. So we in South Africa try everything to make ourselves feel safe, because everybody knows that the police is not going to respond. We've had problems at my house, and then called the police. They didn't come out until I think it was 4 hours later. I held on for 10 minutes with the phone ringing before somebody answered. In that time, something really bad could have happened. If you bring it back to women and children, if you, because a lot of the cases that we have is domestic disputes, it does happen in the home. If you have if something is going on and a woman presses the button, at least if a private security company comes there, they can diffuse the situation and maybe get the woman out and her children out. So it is really necessary to have that part. But then what I also experience is the visible policing that the private security companies are doing up and down the streets. And this is not just in more affluent neighborhoods. This is everywhere where private security companies function. They are more visible than the police. And visible policing is really a deterrent for the cases that we deal with, for domestic violence, for GBV. If you know there's going to be rounds and rounds, and they hear a woman yelling, you know they're going to respond to that. The police don't even do the rounds. In some cases, they're too afraid to go into the area, but the private companies, they do.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's actually, to your point, another scary thought. I didn't even think about, domestic disputes that happen, and there's unfortunately quite a lot of them in South Africa. So once again, women not being protected and children not being protected. And this is what actually really pisses me off even more, because this is an aspect I didn't think of when it came to these regulations. And when I thought about it, and when it was brought to my attention that, like, hey, this isn't going to be good for gender-based violence stuff, and I thought to myself, it irritates me so much that Cyril will go up in front of thousands of women and claim to be fighting against what did he call it? Not a pandemic. He called it a femicide, or what did he called it? Something.
He calls it many things.
Yeah, and he says, men who hit women shouldn't be allowed in our society, and he gets all these women hyped up and cheerful, even though a lot of them didn't believe him, and they were right. And he just goes every time in his speeches, in his State of the Nation addresses, he'll mention GBV in almost every year. And
it's
then,
a buzzword.
Yeah, and now this is happening. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, once again, he's slapped the face of women, metaphorically, of course, and children. I believe you know the stats. How many women die a day in South Africa?
I think it is. I have to think now. The new crime stats 11, I think. Oh no.
Or is it 11 raped women a day?
Rape. Yes. Sorry, I'm thinking of rape. I think it's three women murdered every day,
and it's 3 children as well a day. I believe there was once a stat that said every 10 minutes a woman is raped in South Africa, or something like that, every hour, or something like that.
It does. But it's still, if it's 9 or 10.
No, it's not. It's unacceptable. Unacceptable. It shouldn't even be one. A month, let alone an hour or a day or whatever. It just shouldn't happen. And it speaks to the failures of the justice system and the policing system and all that stuff. I think what I'd like to move on to now is maybe if you can share with us, because you mentioned at the beginning that you do a lot of work with the justice system, and you do a lot of work with cases and stuff like that. Do you perhaps have a few horror stories for us? I really want people to get an idea, because I'll give you a very short reason here. I I recently did a video of a guy who tried to call me out on TikTok, and he was going on about how the justice system in South Africa is great. It's fantastic. It's a real justice system. He was comparing it to your face is just telling me everything I need to know. But but he was comparing it to the American justice system, and he was saying that, oh, we have real courts in South Africa, Joe. We have real courts here. And if the one court doesn't listen to us, the next one will, because we have a judicial system, or whatever he was going on about. I tore him a new one with that one, but I want to hear it from someone else. I want to your NGO works with the court systems almost every single day. Your guys are going to court hearings almost every single week. So tell us, what are some horror stories? What's maybe the worst thing that has happened for you guys? The most frustrating thing that's happened when trying to help people with their cases?
Well, I can say the most frustrating thing that we are seeing, and that's how why my face made that expression when the guy said it's a working system. It is a working system if it's okay for you to take 5 years to get justice. And I don't think in America it takes 5 years for a case from when it happened for there to be an outcome. So in my eyes, that is not a working criminal justice system, because in the first place, it takes so long to get, if the person is arrested by some kind of miracle, then the process starts, and it is then the initial investigation start. We already know that the detectives, the investigating officers, they are inundated with cases. The workload is just unbelievable. So we do understand why they don't get stuff done, and we don't blame the people on the ground trying to do their work, who's born to be a cop and really have a heart for that. There is a problem with the system. Then if the if it moves to the court process, then usually how it works, and this is maybe what this person who took you on theoretically read, is that the person goes to court, they plea, and then it is the trial, and then there's a judgment, and then there's sentencing. This is the process, but it takes 2.5, 3 years to get to trial. We have now, in May, we have the Nosepiwi James case, which started, I think it is now 3 years. It will be 3 years just at the time of judgment. The time of judgment, 3 years. And the problem is that people get despondent, they get traumatized over and over again to go through this court process, because I invite anybody who hasn't been there to go and sit in our court, any court in any part of the country, to go and sit there. It is not a comfortable place. In some places, the lifts aren't working. In some places, the bathrooms aren't working. Many times we have court delays because there's no water at court. The telephones don't work. So people cannot call and see if, is my case continuing? Is it on the roll today? Because it's also not available digitally. Our victims take off the day from work. They travel all the way there. They get the transport money it's an expense that you didn't bargain on. They travel there, they get there, and then they just hear, oh, there's no water at court, so postponed. Or the accused group of people who were supposed to be brought from the prison, they couldn't get there because there was a power failure. I had this in one case. They had a power failure at the prison, so they couldn't release. They couldn't fine everybody out. So all the cases for that day was postponed. So this victim had to prepare themselves mentally to go there, take a day off work, spend transport money to get there, go and sit in a queue and wait and wait and wait, just to be told at 11:30. Oh, they're not coming because they can't get out of prison. There's a power failure. These are the problems. So it's not even it's ridiculous reasons. And then you have the criminals who also realize, oh, there are loopholes, and they're using that. They you go through say 6 months with postponement and the normal moving from one court to the regional court to the actual court where the case is going to be, and then suddenly they say, no, I want a new legal representative. So then it's a delay again, because then the new person needs to come on record. The court diary is so full, so that's another 3 months on, and then it kind of starts again. It is so frustrating, and it is actually infuriating to see there is no swift justice, and many. I don't blame people when they give up. If they have to go through all of that, we ask them to please not give up, to please be there, and that is why we support them. Because if you give up, you put that criminal back on outside, and they can just go and do whatever they want to again. Because our recidivism rate in South Africa is 90 to 95%. So if you do a crime once, you are going to probably do a crime again, and it escalates. So that's why we tell people, please don't give up. We know it's frustrating. We know it's not swift, but please just do that. But that is one of the very frustrating parts of our criminal justice system, just to actually get to the part where there is a result.
And I imagine during load shedding, it was even worse. Like when load shedding was happening.
It's not over.
Yeah,
in
that's
some
true.
courts, it's not over. Then it's also postponed. And also don't forget, there's lunch break for 2 hours. The court starts at 10, then it's lunch break at 12, then back at 2, and then 4 o'clock we end. So,
are they like home affairs? Like, because I was once at home affairs the whole day, and at 12, these people don't care. They just like, with they're helping people or not, they just stand up and they walk out. They just it's like clockwork.
It's not at all courts, but I have been in one where they actually went over and over lunch, and then there was a small break. I think 20 minutes. They said everybody go have a quick water break and then come back. And then the one representative wanted to say at 3:30. She said, so it's almost 3:30. Should we speak about this now, or it's going to go over? And luckily, the judge said, we will continue until this is finished. So, but that's not the norm. That is not the norm.
Wow. I believe some of these tactics were used during the Supercazi boy case as well. I remember the guy who did it he changed his lawyer how many times? I think he changed it a few times.
I almost lost count. I think it was 4 times that he, because first he had a legal aid representative, then he didn't like that one, then he got a new one, then he said he wanted to get a private one, and that didn't work out, and he went back to legal aid. It was sometimes you just, whatever it is, you can see how he's manipulating the whole system, and he's allowed to do it. There was another case where I'm just trying to remember the name now. Sorry, it's out of my mind for a second. But the case, it was already 2.5 years, and it was in trial phase. So we are so happy it's in trial. And then the guy said he now wants an interpreter, so trial must stop because he doesn't understand what is going on. It's been 2.5 years of everything going on. He didn't have a problem. Then he wanted an interpreter because he said he thinks he doesn't understand what is going on. It's a blatant ploy to, and the thing is, he was already in custody. So I don't know why he wants to, you're going to stay there.
It it baffles my mind sometimes that the courts allow this. I mean, a judge will sit there and be like, okay, they won't think, like, they won't make the point you just made. Like, listen, buddy, you've been here for 2.5 years. We've been doing this case.
Yeah.
Okay, you've understood everything until now. Now you have an issue. No, we're moving forward. Because of course, correct me if I'm wrong, but the judge could do that, right? He could be like, no,
Yeah.
we're moving on. But then the judge actually appeases that, which is just also weird to me. Like, I
Yeah.
understand courts in South Africa seem to want to give, they seem to always want to be fair. Fair in the sense of, like, they want to
All
give
the
each side justice, but the problem
yes.
is that because of the justice system and the flaws that you just mentioned, it makes delays. So it's like, okay, fine, we'll be fair to you, but now it's going to delay everything, and that to me
Yeah.
is also not right. I don't know.
Yeah, we really applaud that we have had magistrates and judges who have been very firm and said, this is your last time. Next time you come here, if you don't have a legal representative, you will do it yourself. But this is the line. You won't have any more chances. And then suddenly he was like, okay, no, I'll take this one that I now have. So we really applaud the magistrates that is firm about that, and we really try to build a relationship with respect to these magistrates. But the prosecutors, that's where we also try to build a relationship, because they are also fed up. They are really fed up with seeing the manipulation and having to allow it because that is what the law allows. But they make it clear, the good ones that we support, they make it clear that this is unacceptable, and they plead to the magistrate or the judge and say, please, they've had enough time. We are ready to go to trial. Why aren't they? So we really we appreciate the people who are in there, who are trying to make a difference, and because I don't think it is always for the money, even though I for the prosecutors. But I did see today, actually, I saw a report where it was a cluster of portfolio committees in the government said it is 8 million rand that one magistrate is being paid while they're suspended. It's been going on for years, and it's not the only person. I think they mentioned 3 of them by name, and it's, I think, 31 million in 1 year that the taxpayer is paying for the suspended magistrate. And the problem is we don't have enough magistrates. We don't have enough public prosecutors. And now the money is being wasted on getting rid of these people who actually who shouldn't have been there because they don't care. They are just there for their 8 million bucks.
Jeez.
It's shocking, ridiculous, horrible.
So just like the police don't have enough police officers, the justice system doesn't have enough judges and lawyers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Quick question. I don't know if you know this. Like, I'm going a bit off track here, but there was once an argument I saw, speaking about criminals and stuff like that. Someone once argued that the justice system works because the prisons are full.
Well, that's an interesting, but it is full of, actually, in another a statement that I just read where they did it was here in Pretoria, a prison visit. It was an oversight visit, and it was shocking. I'm just trying to remember the prison's name. Sorry, it will come to me. But it is remanded. It is remanded prisoners that's making it full. It's not the overcrowding is from people who are remanded. It is because the court process is so delayed, and they have to be remanded. So now they have to stay in prison, but they're not guilty yet. They're just a flight risk. So that's that is a problem. It was the one section was 148% full. The other one was 60% overfull, overcrowded.
Wow.
It was all, I think the one was around 200% overcrowded. And it was, most of them remand, but it is overcrowded. The justice system is not working because the prisons are full. It is because the criminal justice system is failing. That is why the prisons are so full. Because
But also,
if there was more stopping people from doing crime, but now they have all these loopholes. All the laws seem to be in favor of the perpetrator. That is the failure, and that is why the prisons are are full. Not because
I would also
not because it's
um,
working. It's because it's failing.
I would also argue, or not argue, but I would also add to that point is like the ANC, or at least the government in general, hasn't really built any new prisons either.
No,
So, like, that's another reason why they're full, is because the
we are more people.
population, yeah, the population is increasing year on year, and you're not building any more prisons. So, of
Yeah.
course, if you have, like in 1994, you had X amount of prisons because that was, according to the population then, and you didn't build any more, of course the prisons are going to get overfull. Like, duh,
Yes.
that's going
Yeah.
to happen. But it doesn't mean that the justice system is working. As a matter of fact, it just shows that justice system isn't working. Because at the end of the day, if a justice system is working, shouldn't you have less people in prison? I mean, people should be afraid to go to prison. You don't, like, you should, saying like, oh, well, our prisons are full, so the justice system is working, is not really a badge of honor for a country. That's not.
No, that's a dumb thing to say. It's really a dumb thing to say. Yeah, we have 5-star prison, fully booked prisons. So well done for us. No, it's horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
I think one of the other things we wanted to chat about, because I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. I thought Action Society has done a lot of good work and successful stories. So I thought maybe you could tell us a few, maybe one or two, three, whatever you feel comfortable with. Just success stories that might warm people's hearts, stories that's like, you guys went through the trenches, but you came out on top. Of course, there was a lot of frustration, I'm sure, with each of these cases, but perhaps you
Mm.
have one or two or a few that you think are really worth telling people, and in order to give people hope, and also to encourage people to, if they know someone is going through these issues or is in trouble or whatever, maybe contact you and say, hey, can you guys help us? So yeah, give us some success stories.
Well, one that I can mention that is, it's actually still ongoing, but part of it is already done, and it is something that we want to do more of when we have our law clinic up and running. It is a big problem in South Africa. Protection orders. It seems like it is not worth the paper that it is written on, and it takes such a long time. Oh, it's done completely wrong, because it should be done as soon as you or you go to the police and say, this person abused me, whatever the abuse is, I want to get a protection order. They should open a case immediately so that there is a paper trail so long. And then they should help you to open or get the protection order in place, because you can get a temporary one, and that is what you actually want, the protection immediately. But how it works now is you get to the police station, battered and bruised, and they say, you should go to court, go get the protection order. Then you can come and present it to us, and then we will, if he or she contravenes the protection order, then the police will act. So that's already then two abuses that should take place before the police acts, if they act. Because that is also something that we see. Contravention of protection orders is such a big problem. But if the police actually opens the case in the first instance, they already have to start investigating. So the chances are better for the person not to do it again, because they know they're already being investigated. But now it doesn't work that way. But getting back to my story is, we don't usually help with protection orders. We can tell people how to do it, but we just don't have the capacity, the amount of people to help with protection orders. But we can tell you exactly what to do, all the steps. We have a great video of what to expect and how to do the whole process. We can't hold everybody's hand to go and do it. We really want to, but we just don't have the capacity at the moment. But this was a lady, an elderly lady who came to us, and her neighbor was really being horrible to her. He pushed her around. She had to get stitches in her head. He let people into her yard, and yeah, it wasn't nice. So we helped her to get a protection order. So that's something very nice, that she got the protection order. And now she has something to tell the police, listen, this guy is contravening this. And the abuse case is still going on, but at least she does have the protection order now. So that's something very nice. It's Auntie Maggie. So that was just recently that she actually got her protection order. She was really so thankful when she got that. But then we have some other cases that where we have had success, and I'm just trying to, because I can't always remember what sentence who got what, but we're happy all the time. It's really our team, when we hear there was a sentencing, Kaylin was in the court and it happened, we are so happy, because it took such a long time, and now finally this person has justice. But we had Marjorie October just recently in March. We called her the Parel Stalk and Stabber, sorry, because it was her previous boyfriend. She already had made a case against him. There was no protection order, but they started speaking again. But he stalked her, and he actually stabbed her. I think it was in the neck that he stabbed her, and then he was now sentenced to 15 years with 5 years suspended for the attempted murder, and 12 months for the assault. So he will spend 10 years in jail, and that's great, because even usually you expect there must be a murder or something like this, and this should, I hope this is a deterrent to people, that you cannot go around and do things like this, because you will go to jail for 10 years at least. So that was something very, very nice. We had another case, the Nadine Klaaser, and she was strangled in her bed, and the boyfriend made it look, he tried to make it look like she committed suicide. I'm not sure always how criminals think, but he tried to make it that way. The police immediately saw that this was not what was going on, but he was sentenced to 20 years on the 26th of March. So that is something that we're very happy about when something like that happened. The other one I just wanted to quickly get to the sentencing. There was, I think it was at the end of last year. It wasn't this year, end of last year. It was the case of little Siobhan Rouge, or Rush. I'm not sure. People always pronounce it in different ways. She was just a baby when she was dropped at the hospital. They said, she fell, and then they found multiple breaks in the process of healing, and so on. And actually, Action Society did an oversight role, so we followed it, and we in the background, our investigators was helping the prosecutor if they needed more information. They helped doing that investigation. So we weren't on the forefront for that. But then the mother, the biological mother, and her boyfriend, they were sentenced to both to life sentences, and that's great. I was actually in court when it happened, so that was really great. And but in the same breath, I have to say it is how the mother. I'm a mother, and I would do anything for my children. How she sat there with no remorse. She was actually like being cheeky with the prosecutor, and she was speaking in Afrikaans, and she said, "What do I have to do to her family members who was sitting? They were sitting close to me in the court."
Jeez.
And yeah, it was so shocking to see how she has no remorse, and you actually killed your child, but not just this once, by continuously abusing a little 2-year-old girl, who looked like a little angel with his blonde hair and blue big eyes. I just don't know how people does something like that to a stranger's child or your own child. Sorry, I'm just going off track because I'm remembering how I just was flabbergasted that she was she was having an attitude, and it was proven, and we all know she did it. There was no doubt that the mother was guilty. So it was really bad to see that, but it was also good. She's in jail lifelong. She's not ever gonna come out, and the children are removed. They are living with the family of the father's biological family. They are living with them now. But anyway, there are many of the shocking cases and the victories that we celebrate when there is really justice.
Yeah.
When there is, we had another case where it was murder, and it wasn't life. It was I think it was 10 years or something like that, or 15 years. And the family was really upset. At first, we thought, when we just heard guilty, we were very happy, and then we all heard 15 years, and we thought, how is 15 years? How's that fair? How does the sentence never brings back the person who is gone, but it doesn't comfort the people who are left when you say her life was worth only 15 years in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very frustrating when you do see that. But we haven't had that a lot. I must say, in the cases that we support and where we put pressure on, we do see more harsh sentences, and that's great, because that is what we are pushing for. People all people who commit crime should have harsh sentences. But if it is against children, the more vulnerable, then really it should be the harshest sentence possible, and they shouldn't even be eligible for parole. That's what we feel. That's not what the law
Yeah.
states, but that is what we feel, and that is what we are fighting for.
And this is going to go now really off topic, but your story now um, is reminding me of a very interesting debate, and we don't have to debate this or anything, but I just want to get your opinion on it. And you don't have to say it as representative of Action Society. This is your own personal opinion. But the story you just told about the mother and the child and all that stuff like that, and people know on this channel as well. I'm a father. I also have a 2-year-old now. I cannot imagine doing any harm to her at all. When I hear stories like the one you just told, it really it angers me, and it also almost shakens me, because it's like you cannot imagine doing that, because you start thinking about but the way that child must have said stop mommy or stop daddy or stop or just cried or whatever. It really can shake you, and it really makes me wish that the death penalty still existed. So what's your opinion on that? Do you think that, regardless of if you think crime would go down or not, you talk about the harshest punishment, I think people who hurt children in that way deserve the death penalty. What do you think?
Mm. Actually, me and my husband also we debate that a lot, because he says death, or the yes, death penalty is a great deterrent. It would, and if somebody knows, if I do this, I could die, I could get the death penalty, then it is a deterrent, because at the moment, going to prison, was your life really that great outside? Maybe it's not that bad inside. We've seen having TVs, and everybody in prison has cell phones. I've had people in from jail contact us to say, listen, when I was still in the media, I want to do an interview. I I want to tell you my story. And they were calling me from a cell phone inside the prison. Um, so it's not luxury. Your freedom is not there, but for some people it is not that bad to be in prison. So the death sentence could be a great deterrent. For me personally, I it is difficult, because I also feel immediately bring back the death penalty, but that is actually not what I believe, because I'm always thinking, in the Bible it says you are not allowed to take a life, and I always think of that person who presses the button, the one who is taking the life, and it is their job. So your job is making it so that you are a sinner. It is against the law of God to do that. But I do understand the passion and the deterrent part and everything around that. And maybe if I am in that situation, I would think differently about it. But just thinking of theoretically, um, I think send them to an island where it is not tropical, where there is nothing, and feed them bread and salt water. I don't know, make their life horrible, but make them live so that they can suffer for years and years. That is
That's
actually, for me, that would be a penalty.
that's not a bad idea. But like an island like that has a lot of snakes.
Yeah, they must. We can do Hunger Games
Yeah.
almost. But yeah,
Um,
it must really be a horrible sentence for people who hurt small little children, vulnerable people, the people who picks up a little baby and think, I'm going to put a
can't do
cigarette
that.
on you.
No.
Who does that? There's something wrong with you. You should not be in a normal society.
Yeah. I've often heard the argument of, oh, but the Bible says we mustn't, God is the only one who can take life and all that stuff. And being a Christian myself, I do agree with that. But at the same time, isn't there a way where maybe we can build a robot that presses the button then? Is that not like a loophole?
I like your loophole. I like your loophole. I think we can be in agreement that this person should be taken out of society. But for
Yes.
me, it is more the torture that person, make them live for 20 years in a horrible situation, because that
Or
is
until
what
they're
you
dead.
deserve.
Like put them on that island until they die. Like that's it. It's
Until
like,
they die. Then they
yeah.
die by their
And
own
you
hand.
and you make sure that the waters around them are shark infested. You
Yes,
make
they
you
can't
make
clean.
yeah. You make sure that whatever's on that island is stuff that is going to kill them. Like
Yeah.
they can survive if they're smart, but it will be torturous, like you said. But
Mm.
let's say 80% of the wildlife that lives, whether it be plants or animals or whatever, will probably kill them. I think that's a good idea.
And you see, there we have the solution for the overcrowding in prisons.
Hey, yeah, there we go. So next time Cyril wants to just release 15,000 prisoners, you're going to send them to an island.
Yes, not a fun tropical island, the
Yeah.
horrible island.
Or maybe we do a Hunger Games just with prisoners. I don't know. Like on an island. Like on an island, build this whole like arena and all this stuff and let them
And they
fight
hunt
each
each
other.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. it's actually like, if you think about it, those movies are not so far fetched after all.
Yeah, it could be a real solution.
All right, so we're closing off the show shortly, and I think I covered most of what. Yeah, pretty much. We covered everything that I wanted to talk about. But I just want to get to maybe some of the questions that some people might have in the live chats. So if anybody has any questions for Juanita, please start dropping them in the live chats now as we close off. But I do have to address some of the super thanks that came through, or super chats that came through. One from Gavin Calmer giving 140 Rand super thanks, or super chat. Well, we actually call them Sasa chat on this channel. 140 Rand. He says, "Hey bud, missed the lives, but you're growing the channel. Behind you 100%. Thank you so much, Gavin Calmer, for the sweet messages." Matthew Dixon. By the way, Juanita, Matthew is a bit of a troll, but it's a weird one. Like, we have a love-hate relationship. He can be nice, like you're seeing here. 35 Rand, I think that's the most he's ever given to this channel. But thank you. He wants to say thank you for your time and work, Jose. And please thank your guest for what she does. With a
I will take that from your troll. Thank you for saying thank you.
And just to keep you in the inside joke here, I did it. Like I said, I did a video of a guy who tried to call me out on TikTok, and he starts the video by calling me Jose. So now a lot of my viewers call me Jose, just as a inside joke. But yeah, so if anybody has any questions, otherwise, I will ask another question. Is there a case that maybe Action Society, you guys did your best, but for whatever reason, it just didn't, there was no success? Like, has there anybody ever been a case like that? I don't want to say failure, because I don't think that's the right word to use, but like, because I know you guys would have tried your best. Maybe it was a case of like the judge gave like a really like arbitrary ruling that you guys didn't even see coming. Like, you know what I mean? Like how we've seen now recently, the judges rule, like, kill the Boer is not hate speech. I don't know how. So anything like that, where you like, you thought you had it, you thought this was like, you presented all the evidence, you thought this was in the bag, and then a judge just ruled completely left field. Has that ever happened?
There has been cases where we have some where they try the insanity plea, and then where it actually succeeded. But then our private investigator at the time, she said, well, it is actually not such a, because we were like, what? He only goes to an institution. And she said, no, it is actually really bad there. It is like prison. But you just hear screaming in your ears and craziness in your ears all the time.
So if he wasn't crazy, he will be crazy.
But so that was something we were disappointed, and then we understood actually what it does mean. But sometimes when it is frustrating, and sometimes it is even before it goes to court. And our investigators have years and years of experience. Most of them have been in the police force before, so they understand how the process works, and they also understand the prosecution side of it. And sometimes they can say, after they've looked at all the evidence, and they go and dig because sometimes the police just doesn't get to all of it. And the prosecutor will then say, can you please help with interviewing this guy, or finding this evidence, or whatever. And then when they have everything on the table, they can already say to us, it is not going to go the way. There's not enough evidence, and we tried everything. There's not enough witnesses. It's hearsay. And sometimes the relatives or the family or the friend are so convinced that this is what happened, and then the evidence shows that that it is actually not what happened, and then having to tell them, and they still don't believe it, even when we tell
Mm.
them, listen, this is the case. It was an accident, or it wasn't that person. It was somebody. It was somebody else, or
Yeah.
maybe your relative was in the wrong and the other person was defending themselves. It does happen, and it is really difficult when it goes that way, because you always want to believe you see the hurt of somebody. But that is why we do need a working justice system. We can't just go around. Somebody asked me earlier, the case where the mother, I can't, if she just assaulted or murdered the guy who was in the process of raping her daughter, who is disabled, and she came across them, and she took law into her own hands. I think she stabbed him or something like that. And as a mother, immediately I want to say, well, if somebody touches my child, especially if it is a disabled child who's vulnerable, who can't defend themselves, I would do the same thing. But there is law. If everybody takes law into their own hands, then it will be chaos, because then you can just say, well, it will be back to the 1700s in Europe, where everybody just had their own law, and decided, this is the law now. I'm taking law into my own hands.
But at the
We
same
cannot
time,
have
sorry, I
that.
don't mean to interrupt, but I think this, I want to say this because, in that scenario, right? You're talking about somebody raping someone who is disadvantaged. So, in my view, when a rape is committed, you are taking away an innocence of someone. You are taking
Mm,
away their dignity, their humanity. You might as well kill them. You might as well have taken their life, because the trauma that that individual lives with for the rest of their life, even though some men or women have been able to overcome it, it is very
mm,
difficult to overcome. It can damage you for the rest of your life. So you might as well have killed someone. So in the instance of rape, I say that that woman shouldn't have been charged, oh, well, you took a knife and you stabbed, and so we're going to charge you with attempted murder, or whatever it was that they said. um, I think it should be looked at like a murder. So, for example,
self-defense.
yeah. So, no, but like if you witness, I don't know if it's the same in South Africa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know in America that if
Mm,
you witness a murder, right, and you do nothing, you're held accountable. You can be held as like an accomplice if you did absolutely nothing. You just watched it happen. Now, I don't know if it's the
mm,
same in South Africa, but I would view that instance like if the mom walks in and sees it happening and she does nothing, then she's letting it happen. She's letting this person do horrible things to her daughter. And yes, one could
mm.
argue, oh, she just had to pull him off or kick him out of the house or whatever. But this is also a man, right? Don't know how big he
Who's
is. Maybe he's
stronger?
small. Maybe he's small. Maybe he has a weapon. I don't know. Um, I think the reaction to a man doing that to the daughter, who is also disabled, who cannot fight for themselves, is justified. And again, this is now I'm talking about like public. This is public court, right? This is not
Yeah,
this is not
yeah,
actual court. But in the public court, I see nothing wrong with it. I say good on that mother. Hell yeah. As a father, I probably would have shot the guy in the back of the head, um, because you've literally taken something from my daughter that she will never get back, ever. It doesn't matter
yes.
what you say. That guy can go to jail and get sentenced with the death penalty. Nothing will come back. Nothing. That my daughter is now traumatized for the rest of her life. You've taken her innocence. How dare you?
Mm.
And that's how strongly I feel about that scenario. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
No, I have to say, I'm a parent too,
Yeah.
and it was really a difficult question when that reporter asked it to me, presented it to me, and I did it in two takes to her, because I said to her, this is what Action Society says. We cannot have lawlessness. We cannot have people taking law into their own hands. We do understand. We empathize with the mother. We completely understand why she did it. And then in the second voice note, I said to her, I am a parent, and I would probably have done the same thing.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. And I think, listen, talking about, not taking the law into your hands, I'm definitely not advocating for that. I think just in that instance, I think maybe I want to say let the law be changed, but we all know that when laws are changed in South Africa, it's not always for the good of the people. So you have to be careful when you say that. But if we lived in a just society, if we lived if we had good court system, if we had a good law system, if we had all that stuff, then I would say yes, maybe we could tweak the law a little bit. That in this instance, this specific instance, maybe the law can be a little bit lenient with the mother and sympathize with the mother and understand that this was a very nuanced and delicate situation here. It's not like the mother just went crazy, right? Like this any parent would sympathize. But having said that, last question for the evening before we go over time, and I think it's a very good question from Martin Dixon, who asked, before I get to that, super chat came in. Thank you so much, Peter Sawanga, for watching. He gives a Sasa chat saying 140 Rand. He says, support those who dare tell the truth, support those who enable to speak the truth. This is the way. Thank you, Peter. This is the way. And then Matthew Dixon, saying, how can we help Action Society, and what help is needed most? I think it's a great question.
Yes, it is a great question, and thank you for asking that, Matthew. Like I have mentioned before, it is often the capacity that we are having challenges with. We want to take on laws, and that takes money to change laws. But then also doing the support that we're doing for victims, that is also a challenge because it takes money. So the way you can support us is to go to our website, and it is in the link, like Joe said, and go to the donate page, and there you can donate via PayFast. You can decide if you're doing a recurring payment or if you're doing a once-off payment. But it really does help for us to do more. Because we are also limited in the amount of cases that we can take on, because it is such a big problem, but we can only get to as many as we can get to. We're trying to find ways around it to support people without being physically there. That is the workaround, but it is better if you can be there with them in court. But then you have to sit there all day because it is a South African court, and it takes travel, and we sometimes organize transport for the people and so on. So it is financial donations that would help us the most.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, link in the description, Action Society's website. Go check them out, as well as the link to their campaign against the private security regulations that are going to be implemented. You have until Friday, by the way, to drop in your comments. Literally 2 days. So please, if you're watching this now, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it after the fact, if you haven't given your comment yet, please do so at the link provided in the description. Juanita, I'm going to call it here. Thank you so much for all your time tonight. Thank you so much for your insight, for the stories that you've given us. I'll definitely have you back on the show soon. Maybe we can talk more about the cases and the legalities and the courts, because you have such interesting stories about the courts. So yeah, thanks again, Juanita, for joining me tonight, and especially on such short notice.
It's a great opportunity. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Joe. I'm looking forward to the next time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Juanita. Good night, and I'll chat to you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Juanita from from Action Society. Once again, please go to the the link in the description and check them out. Go give them some support. Check out what they do. They have a lot of great campaigns. Please support them. And then the other thing is that I wanted to say very quickly before I have to go is thank you guys so much for commenting, for all the super chats or Sasa chats. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Thank you so much to the new members that have joined this channel as well. Thank you guys so much. There is a new membership tier, ladies and gentlemen, 2 tiers now. You got 20 Rand, you got 40 Rand, and you got 60 Rand. Go to the join button at the bottom of this video to find out more details and how you can support this channel. And again, any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much once again for the super thanks. And cool. Let's I don't think there's any more questions. Sorry if I missed them before we had to end, but it is getting over time, and I promised Juanita that we'd only do an hour. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to announce and make it official that I will be doing a members only stream soon. I just need to find a time and date, but that is going to happen, where I will be doing a members only stream. So the members of the channel will get to experience or have a nice chat with me. And there's a few things I want to chat about with you guys, some exclusive things. And just to let you guys know, if you are a open mic member, you do not get access to the members only streams. I think you can watch it, if I remember correctly, but you cannot chat. So just bear that in mind when you're choosing the tiers. If you want to be able to chat in the live streams, you need to be a member from the 40 Rand tier, the middle tier. But yeah, you can find out all those details in the join button. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much once again for watching. Peter Swanga saying exclusive. Yes, exclusive, my friend. Very exclusive indeed. Cool. Peter also saying she must come back. I'll definitely have Juanita back. Don't worry. She's a really cool person, and she's got a lot of interesting stories. So I'm definitely going to have her back. I was thinking about it earlier, like why did it take me so long to get her onto the show anyway? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I have to go. So thank you guys so much once again. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm having a lunchtime stream with Paul Moritz. He is from Free SA. We're also going to be talking about Free SA, what do they do, who they are, and some campaigns that they have going on their website. Some interesting campaigns. They're doing a lot to fight against these horrible quotas that are coming in now, and also some other things that they're fighting. They need your support. So tune into that conversation. You're going to get to know Free SA a little bit better. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.